Welcome to the CWC Podcast with your host, David Selby, Justin Reed, and Andy Horton.
All right. Hello and welcome to the CWC Podcast. I'm David Selby. I'm your host, and today it's just me, and wouldn't you know it, it's Halloween. It's Thursday, October 31st, and fall has finally hit. I know at least here in southwest Missouri, it just came on really fast this week. Despite uncharacteristically warm temperatures for this time of year, we were just smacked with wind, just insane amounts of wind this week, and it has just taken all the leaves off the trees for us. Not sure what's happening down in Arkansas and a little further out east, but going over to Hurricane Mills last weekend, it looks like we were behind a little bit. So I think everybody's fully into fall now, and I don't know what you're doing for Halloween, but we've got a 2 and a 4-year-old, and we're going to be trick-or-treating as as people do. And when I was growing up, that was what we absolutely did every single Halloween. And it's kind of funny to think back on how that is something that really hasn't changed too much. I know when I'm scrolling through like social media, I'm seeing the occasional post of like, don't celebrate Halloween or whatever. I guess I don't get too political about Halloween. I think it's just a good chance for kids to dress up and even dress up as like their heroes, whatever, and just get creative, let their imaginations run wild. I personally love it. There's no political interference for me with Halloween. So to everyone their own on that, though. If you don't celebrate it, I'm okay with that. It's okay. I don't know what you should let me know in the comments below. What everybody's dressing up for Halloween as around you. My kids are 4-year-old girl Stevie. She's dressing up as Anna from Frozen, and that's probably mostly just because she doesn't have straight up blonde hair. She loves Elsa, but she's going to be Anna, and actually she's been Anna for about 2 weeks now, so love that. And we get to cut that off after today. She has 2 Anna dresses, actually. I don't know. I think my wife she had the foresight to think, hey, maybe she'll tear through one of them and we'll need a backup. So thanks for the cheap Anna suits, Temu. There's your plug, Temu. That might be the only time I ever talk about Temu. Then our son, he just got by default thrown into being Olaf. And if I can find a picture of it by the time I post this podcast, I might throw it in here. But according to my wife, the first time that they went out and did like one of these little trunk or treat things, our 2-year-old son was just like a little boy just screaming to get out of a dress. It was absolutely horrible, and she's never going to do that again. And so that's pretty fun. Speaking of my wife, I guess I should go ahead and give her a shout out. We found out recently that we are going to have a 3rd child. So we went 4-2, and we're bringing another one to the world, and we think that'll be the last one. So if you were at Halloween Havoc, you might have heard that over the speakers this last weekend. I was talking to Ed Remus and his wife Jennifer and Dean Holman, and those guys we were just shooting the crap, and I kind of let that drop, and they gave me the pats on the back and all that, and then I was like, yeah, but that's not really public knowledge yet. And sure enough, we get like into the first day of races on Saturday, and we're like halfway through the race day, and there's a little bit of a lull, and then I just I'm over like shooting on the back of my truck, shooting the races and flying the drone and stuff, and Ed I guess I could just feel him think about me because he looks over at me. He's like, oh, in the Chuckwagon channel, and wouldn't you know it, David over there, he's got one in the oven. And then he just like cuts off instantly because you could tell that his wife, Jennifer, was like, you're not supposed to tell anybody yet. So I thought that was pretty funny. And I was just like, no, it's all good. It's fine. It's out there. And then to confirm that everybody did hear that, I saw Jana Priscilla like that evening or whatever, and she's like, oh, I heard that you've got a child on the way. So yeah, they heard Ed, everybody heard. And so we just found out that we're pregnant. Like we're like maybe 5 weeks, so a little bit early to be celebrating and everything, but but yeah, that's the news on me and on the David Selby life that's going on. All right, so on today's show, I am going to lay down the results from Halloween Havoc at Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. And I'm also going to share some thoughts on how we are planning to handle this show during the wagon racing off season this year. Just a couple of things I wanted to talk about today, being that Andy and Justin are both out today. I just planned on kind of doing this one off the cuff a little bit and maybe just share some of the things we've been talking about, some of the things that are coming up, because we're pretty fluid at this point. We started this podcast like halfway through the summer or even towards the back of the summer. And we haven't had a really, really huge plan for this other than we knew we wanted to start connecting with the Chuckwagon racing community through this and bring people on that are in that community and and just grow the community ultimately is what we want to do. And then we also looked at this as a great opportunity to share more content. So I'll touch on that stuff and just share some of the things that we've been talking about doing, and maybe I'll even get some feedback from all of you guys. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and relive the ride at chuckwagonchannel.com. It's $11 a month, or you can save 25% on the year if you know you're going to be on this channel for more than like 6 months. If you know that you are a Chuckwagon racing person or a fan or a racer, I guess, I invite you to go ahead and just sign up for the year and just get on board, save 25%. You can still cancel and it'll run out at the end of the year. But yeah, that really helps us to kind of predict the future and know how many people we have sticking around on this thing. And we really appreciate all the support. Truly, the subscriptions are what will enable us to keep doing this show in the short term, at least. And so it is important that we retain our subscribers and even pick up more as we move through the fall season and through the winter when we don't have any races, So again, thank you all for subscribing and being a part of this. Relive the ride, chuckwagonchannel.com. Furthermore, if you want to sponsor the show, the Chuckwagon channel, or one of our collections, or even if you want to be a sponsor on the upcoming content that we're putting out, reach out and I'll connect with you and show you kind of the sponsorship packages that we've lined out. And we'd love to have you as a sponsor and get your name out there to our audience. This episode, like I said, it's coming to you on Halloween, so I'm excited to kind of get into this stuff. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up the race results here from this last weekend at Halloween Havoc. I'm going to get right into that, and just to kind of to recap on the weekend just a little bit. I got there on Friday, and it was the first time that I've actually stayed in one of the cabins over there. Because typically when I drive to these races, I am just staying in a hotel or something. I don't have a travel camper. I don't have a like a horse camp or anything like that. So, or horse trailer. And so it's usually hit the hotel. And this time around, this is the third time I've been back to Loretta Lynn's. And so we got it lined out to where I was able to stay in one of their like cabins there. And those are pretty straightforward. Those are really laid back. They do have like Wi-Fi across the whole entire ranch there. And so I was able to do everything that I need to do in there. It was cozy. It was fun. I'd recommend it. And the ranch there is just beautiful. And sure enough, fall, like we kind of predicted, fall had come on, and the evenings were awesome. The weather was good for the weekend. We did get a little bit of rain early in the morning on Saturday morning ahead of the races, which kind of got the track a little more slick, probably slicker than they wanted it to be for the race day, but at least it wasn't raining, and people still put out good times, and it was fun because it's Halloween themed. The whole weekend was Halloween themed, and so people came ready for that. I kind of said this last time on the show, but Halloween Havoc or Loretta Lynn's Ranch, they have a great following on their social media, and so they really promote the races that they have really well, and the track is very much lined with spectators and a lot of people that they just come to check it out, and and a lot of people are coming from a long ways, but then there's also kind of that local crowd, like people from all over Tennessee and stuff, and even into Kentucky. You know, I heard of some people that were coming down from Indiana that were watching the races. So I think I was one of the furthest out from Southwest Missouri. My 8-hour drive, I think, trumped most of the people I talked to. But they do have a really nice following there where they are able to just promote events that they do, whether it's Chuckwagon racing or a motocross event or a Jeep gathering, which is like their last thing of the year that they do, I think, or one of the biggest things they do at the end of the year. And yeah, it was a great turnout, and I was just really glad to see that even though it was a smaller race where, you know, there's probably maybe up to like 50 teams or something, depending on how you define that, there was a great crowd. And even Sunday, when you don't see as many people show up Sunday, just because it's the second day, they kind of got their fill. Maybe they're doing church, whatever. Sunday still had like a decent crowd. I felt like it was just a good, fun weekend. And so, yeah, I just highly recommend that race. If nothing else, just go and enjoy that ranch because it's a cool place, and the amenities are great. The rodeo stuff was great. The vendors were great. The concerts were great. I guess maybe I hadn't fully known this before I went down there, but they do get bands out of Nashville, and those bands that come in, they put on a show. I mean, they're pretty much cover bands, but really solid entertainment. And they were out there playing way later than I was up to, you know, stay out and enjoy the festivities because I knew I was dumping footage and backing up footage and recharging batteries and all that stuff each night. But I gotta say, I gotta recommend the event. It was fun. Weather was great though, and to kind of get into some results here. So kicking it off with the Big Horse Rubber Tire, first place, it was Trump Train with a 57:20. Several not qualified times from these other teams. And then you get right into the 46 Mules, and the first place time of a 59:48 comes from Woo Pow number 1, Dylan Myatt, Braxton Sierra. They got it done. Second place, Running Blind, Bad and Bougie. They got that done on Sunday. They had a very slow time to qualify, but they got the outrider. That was kind of sometimes that was the story of the weekend. You kind of just need to have a qualified time. Quite a few struggles with outriders, it seemed like. And then it looks like third place was Trump Train. I mean, Trump Train popped up in everything. I would say this was one of their just most prevalent performances on the year because they were involved in every single race. You just saw Trump Train out there for everything. And at one point, somebody showed me a picture of like, they had like 5 or 6 little Trump Train wagons all just lined up next to each other. Those guys are coming on. They're coming on strong, and they've got people from all over the place. They are a racing family. I mean, it's really cool to see what they've done in the last, I guess, 2 years, really, since Trump Train really kicked off. You know, I guess Danny Wilson's kind of the start of all of that, and just watch out. I think you're just going to keep seeing Trump Train, the train growing and moving forward, and I hope that more people will kind of copy that template that they have of getting more friends and family involved. I need to interview Danny Wilson and some of the people from that group because they are a big, thriving group of Chuckwagon racers, and I hope that more people will do that. All right, 46 ponies, first place, Outlaws, 51:22, and that was a fun race to see because we had Julie Pennington driving with Jagger Pennington as the cook in the wagon, and that was his first time doing that, so it was good to see the youth kind of getting more involved, you know, people kind of doing things that they don't normally do at this race. JD was out riding for him. They got it done. They were flying around the track there, although I will say Hot Mess Express had a little bit of trouble with the outriding. If Keisha had gotten her outrider around the track, she got her wagon across the line almost a full second faster than the Outlaws with a 50.40. Looks like second place goes to Hartwick Horseshoeing. Blake Lewis with a 54:59. Third place, Freight Train with a 102.99. So that was one of those that they just got it done and they placed. 52-inch ponies. Looks like first place comes out of Heat 1 with Full Throttle. Jana Priscilla was there with Matt, Mr. Peaches Smith, and Jordan Lee. They had a nice showing on the weekend. Second place was the Outlaws, Julie Pennington, with a 50:01, so just a little slower, less than a second off of the lead time there. Trump Train, of course, was in there with a 51:70. Danny Wilson must have been driving that one. 52-inch Mules. First place goes to Trump Train, of course. Looks like Timmy Bias. I should know names better than that by now. I apologize if I get your name wrong. Running Blind, Bad and Bougie. Second place, 56:50. Third place was BS Racing, running around 100 seconds there. Moving on. Buckboard, Heat 1. There ended up being 2 heats here, and I think that the second team, Trump Train, got in here kind of last second, but Full Throttle Loca, Janet Priscilla takes first place with Matt and JD. 48:19. She looked great. She was flying around the track. She did run on her own there, and then Heat 2 was Trump Train, and they were running a classic wagon, actually. They just kind of got in there and wanted to get a team in, so it just made more entertainment for the crowd. They ran a 1:13:27, so little slower than that 48:19 that took first place. Big Mules. Looks like first place goes to White Ass Open with a 59:10. The second page of this. Second place with a 59:63 was the Outlaws. Third place, a 101:19 for Sue's Pawn. Congrats there, Jeff Clark. Always good to see that guy. Okay, the Classic. So they did something a little different with Classic. They actually, I think the same 2 wagons ran. It was Trump Train and BS Racing wagons, and they ran them twice because they ran horses in the first heat, and then they ran their mules in the second heat. And so that looked like Trump Train and BS Racing. Let's see. So the horses ran faster, of course, and BS Racing got it done on Sunday with a qualified ride of 100 seconds, .10. And the second place was Trump Train horses 100.2. So you're talking a tenth of a second off. That was an exciting race. It was cool to see those classic wagons out there. And then they came back around and they ran the mules, and it was White Ass Open mules running in. I think that they were running the BS Racing wagon. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm forgetting. But they ran a 109.7. Trump Train brought up the rear with their mules. And then getting into 4-up mules, it looks like we had first place Running Blind with a 103.08 on Sunday. Second place, Trump Train, 106.68. Third place, Bad and Bougie with a 115.16. So that's awesome. Okay, and then youth. Sunday, the Outlaws, Jagger Pennington got it done with a 14.46. So he ended up edging out Tinley Biggs. Congratulations, Jagger. I knew you could do it. Tinley had a really nice moment where she was running for the last time as a youth in this race. So lots of emotions flying all around for Robbie Biggs, her dad, and for their group. And so that was a special weekend for those guys, for the Biggs family. In the mules in the youth division, Weepow, number 1. Corbin Myatt, 17.73, takes first place. And wouldn't you know it, the .73 gets to the .73 is victorious over Weepow number 2, Clay Myatt, at a 17.75. That is insanely close, but Corbin just edges Clay. Congratulations, Corbin. And just a quick shout out to Colby Sawyer, who also ran in there in the Outrider division for the youth. First place goes to Tinley Biggs, flying across the track with an 11.50, and Jagger nipping at her heels a second and a half slower with a 12.93, and Wyatt Powell 17.97 of third place. And a shout out to Asher Miller, who, if I remember right, was just someone who kind of jumped in last second there, and so that was great. Good to see youth jumping on board and just being a part of the races. So congratulations to all the winners from Halloween Havoc this weekend. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed being down there and just seeing everybody run at the last race of the year. Definitely one thing that we saw happening at that race was teams getting in last second, because it is a cash race, and depending on the division, you'd have 1, 2, 3 teams that would actually get into the cash, into the money, and so you saw some teams jumping in late, just trying to fill up some spots, knowing there's just cash sitting on the table, and so that might have slowed down the show just a little bit because people were kind of rehooking wagons and stock and everything to make sure that they were getting all their teams in there. But on the whole, I thought the weekend went really well. Ed Remus and Dean Holman announcing, they did a fantastic job keeping the show going. Day one was definitely the slower of the two. I think just between getting all those different teams in there, getting them going, and just a couple of little things just kind of made it drag out. But Sunday was awesome. The weather was perfect. The track was great. Everybody stayed safe this weekend for the most part. I think, I heard of a lost toenail kind of thing. For the most part, the weekend was, I think that was Easton Shadburn. Congratulations. You are regrowing your toenail, and I'm sorry that you lost it this weekend. But that was, that was kind of the extent of the injuries for the most part. And that's always nice to know that nobody is getting seriously injured at one of these races. And even despite the track conditions being a little bit questionable on Saturday, it was good. Anthony Bruto and the Loretta Lynn staff, they put on a great show. They brought in so many Halloween decorations. I went and asked Anthony about that after the race. I was like, after the races, and I was like, man, was it like this last year when I came out here? Because I don't remember it just being like this decked out. And he had said that last year they had like a wedding or something right before Halloween Havoc races, and so it wasn't able to be quite as decked out. But I heard of Anthony literally being out of town at some point during the weekend to get more Halloween decorations. So whenever we show the highlight from that race, you're going to see like this was a Halloween event, and it was neat. It was cool to see all the teams come out on Saturday and do the parade with all of the different costumes and everything. It was cool. There were a lot of people that couldn't make it this year, and for different reasons. I know that Brandon Harp's funeral was going on in Oklahoma, and there were some teams out for that, which totally understandable. And it looks like everything I've seen on social media, that was a really, really nice ceremony for their family and for everybody that went. But yeah, smaller event this year, but great turnout for the spectators and the people that just came to enjoy it for the weekend. So it was cool. Okay. All right. So I wanted to kind of jump into a little bit of the stuff that we've been talking about as far as like what we're doing in the off season. There's several things that are kind of out here right now. So just to give you a heads up, I mean, obviously we've got content coming out from the national championships. We've got a lot of content coming out from the different races that we went to this year. There's this stuff that's just going to be dripping out constantly. As I say, drip is like the term, I guess, for putting out content, but it's going to be dripping out constantly. Sounds a little bit weird, actually, but we will have a steady flow of content coming out through the fall and even into the winter. A couple of things that we've been talking about. I did get on the phone with the Cowboy Channel. So the Cowboy Channel, they've pretty much agreed. They've told me that as long as we've got race promos and race recaps that I'm putting together, that they would love to show those things on the Western Sports Roundup. So as we go forward, that's something that we've got a little bit of a better grasp on, that I think going into this year, I was hoping to have more stuff on the Cowboy Channel, but I think I just needed to get in touch with the right person there. And so I did talk to like an executive producer over there and their programming and everything. And so we will put out stuff from the different races that we go to where we're able to do that. And so that'll be a really good thing, I think, for the sport of Chuckwagon racing, to know that we're going to start getting stuff onto Western Sports Roundup and out into the world, kind of announcing what Chuckwagon racing is, and that we take it seriously, and that there is an association, and that there are results to be shown. Hopefully it just keeps on building that snowball, and the snowball picks up more momentum. And a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, the sport has spread out across more and more states, and that there are more and more people involved. And that's my hope. That's my hope for the sport. That's my hope that with the Chuckwagon channel that we're able to keep growing on this thing. I definitely wouldn't have created the Chuckwagon channel had I thought the sport of Chuckwagon racing doesn't stand a chance to grow and expand and become a bigger thing that's sustainable. Even beyond Clinton, which it's just this massive event that I don't see going anywhere soon. But yeah, I truly believe that the sport's going to keep growing, and I think we're seeing that. I think even on a year where everybody's kind of talking about how, man, the economy, people are not spending money, and I totally agree with that. I have seen that with my own eyes. I've heard that out of people's mouths. I still think that as far as passing the eyeball test and these events, being steady, most, if not all, the races I went to this year showed a passionate following, if not significant growth. And I've told a lot of people, looking at probably the 2 races I use as the biggest example that are not Clinton, probably Whiskey Ridge and Baker Spain. Those 2 races, they absolutely, more than passing the eyeball test, they were objectively growing. And Whiskey Ridge had an uphill battle with weather this year, as they've had sometimes in the past, but they had a huge crowd. I felt very proud when I went back to Whiskey Ridge this year and I saw the growth and everything that they're still doing to grow the event down there. And then you look at Baker Spain, what Josh Spain has done with their ranch and the growth that they have, which, that's one event where you look at the Chuckwagon racing aspect of that event, and it's probably the only race that everything isn't just centered as much around the Chuckwagon racing. I think that their concerts and all the stuff that they offer there are as big, if not bigger, than what they're doing with their performances on Saturday and Sunday for the Chuckwagon races. I was out there on Wednesday night, because this race is an hour from where I live. I was there like every night, Wednesday through Sunday, and they just had a ridiculous turnout for their like contemporary Christian artists that came Wednesday night, and they're just putting on a great show, and they've really grown the amenities around their ranch to where it can support that, and it invites more and more people. They're promoting their event really well. They've worked with me on a lot of video stuff, and I think the sport's growing is kind of my point there, but maybe to kind of segue straight into some other stuff that we're talking about, I've been talking to Josh Spain. He really wants to do more promotion and keep on just adding more on, and he wants to do more with what we've been capturing at their ranch with the growth and the story of their growth. And so as far as the podcast goes, as we go through these like fall and winter months, we don't always have something to jump on and maybe talk about as a group between me and Andy and Justin. Sometimes we will. And sometimes maybe those episodes will be shorter. Maybe we'll have more stuff lined up. But I think that I could see the fall and winter months being a couple of episodes here where I will actually go and set up an interview or a podcast with maybe a track owner or someone that's in the racing community that we really want to hear more from. And I think Josh Spain is definitely one of those, because there's something to glean from having an interview with someone who puts on these races. Not only do we kind of get an idea of where the compass is pointing for the sport, but like you see how these events are doing and what these track owners are doing to keep growing their events and grow the sport. And that's something that all of the track owners and all of the racers can have in mind as we go forward. And I think that that's a good thing, that the whole community of the racing community anyway is that we're all plugged in on what's going on there, because there's a lot of hearsay, or there's a lot of speculation, sometimes about like how an event is doing, or how that event did, or how that, how that track owner feels about it. Are they going to do it again? So, I'm excited to get on and interview some of these people. I definitely think, especially with some of these first time tracks, I'm hoping that in the off season here that we can make it work to where we continue to get more content to our listeners about what these different tracks are doing, so that everybody, all the track owners, all the racers can all glean something from that, and we can collaboratively, grow the sport. So those are a couple of things, some thoughts off the cuff from me, as far as what we might be doing in this, call it off season of racing, even though we have a lot of content that we're still going to be putting out in the next couple months. But yeah, we've got season 2 of the Great Wagon Race that, I can share that we are eyeballing the very start of the year. I can't make any promises on when we're going to drop episode 1, because right now it's just such a big project and all these different ideas and content and storylines that we have to make sure that we get that first episode done and we know where we're going with that whole season before I can really say, hey, we're going to drop it on this date. But I can share with you that I'm hoping it's right there on like New Year's, if not right after New Year's, which I think is kind of a cool time of year to put that stuff out. So stay tuned. And, as more information comes, as we get more of that season edited, I'll be sharing that with you guys. But yeah, I'm hoping that there can be some, short trips involved with what I'm doing with the podcast, if not doing things remotely. I think that the remote version of this is a lot of fun, and it's easy and it's convenient, but there is something to going and actually sitting down with someone and having an interview with them. If not, just a straight up conversation is really the best way to put it, because yes, a podcast is meant to be an interview, but it's also really, ideally, I'm just having a conversation with these people, and we're just, shooting the crap, and we're just talking about anything and everything, and hopefully that's interesting enough that it ends up making the final cut and that it's on the show. But yeah, that's kind of where we're going right now, and I'm probably forgetting some stuff, but if you have any thoughts or ideas, I'd love to get people's comments and ideas and thoughts on things you would like to see. We did a segment recently where we did Would You Rather, Chuckwagon version, and that was Justin and I. We plan on doing more segments like that too. We want to have fun, and also knowing that we have this whole year of Chuckwagon racing footage and content that is getting cranked out, that we have just kind of in the vault. There's a lot of stuff that never surfaces that just kind of stays on the cutting room floor. I think it would be fun to do some segments where we kind of talk about like our favorite races or our favorite moments or whatever, and kind of relive those through video, which, brings that kind of visual element into the podcast even more. I would love to know, actually, whether it's through a Facebook message or a comment or an email, I would love to know how you guys are taking in the show. I talked to several people this weekend at Halloween Havoc that had said, hey, yeah, love your show. We just love to have it turned on in the shop whenever I'm doing this or that, and I can just listen to it in the background. So that kind of tells me that people are listening to it. And I know with the way the app is set up, if you have the app downloaded, you can actually you can set a setting in your preferences on the app to where you should be able to play something in the background. You should be able to even theoretically turn your phone to off, like the screen is off, and you should be able to listen to the podcast. It's set up to do that. So for those of you that feel like you have to keep your phone set up on the dash or whatever to have the podcast going, that's not actually true. Although my hopes and dreams for this podcast is that it is a visually entertaining show, as well as something that you can just listen to. So that's to me where things are going, is that there will be video involved. And on the last one that I did right before Halloween Havoc, that was just me, and it was a 15-minute show. And because of how flexible I was with that one, I was able to just grab some content from the things that I had done on some previous races or some different edits or whatever, and I was able to throw some video. So if you were watching that one, you would have seen, hey, here's some footage from a couple of different things that he's talking about and he's actively showing as well. So that was kind of cool, and that's the kind of stuff I hope to do in the future. So yeah, that kind of sums up what I was wanting to cover today. And again, happy Halloween to everybody. I hope you have gone and you have filled up a bucket of candy so that when people come by your house tonight, that you're not the Scrooge of Halloween, and that you're just making it a fun experience for these kids. I know for me, I think back to Halloween when I was a kid, like I have like weird memories. I'm like, I went to nursing homes that smelled funny, and we trick-or-treated at like nursing homes and stuff even, and that was fun. And that was great for the people that were involved, and the people in the nursing home. It was engaging for them, and they got to see the kids. And I don't know, maybe since COVID, they don't allow that anymore because all the kids are just carrying around, their viruses and their runny noses. But yeah, I just encourage everybody to be involved and let that be a community thing in your own communities. And if you've got kids, take them and go trick or treat a little bit. Don't let them eat too much candy, because if you're like me and Miranda, like we're really trick or treating for us, right? That's what we're doing. We're getting a huge bag of candy so that we give our kids maybe one piece a day, because they don't need that sugar, but we've got that candy. And if we really want the Snickers bar or the Reese's, the really good candies, we'll probably eat them. So, because the kids don't eat it. That's how we justify it. So anyway, again, thank you all for listening to the show. If you haven't already, subscribe, relive the ride. This will come out today, Thursday, and we'll put this out publicly tomorrow on YouTube. And as always, thank you for supporting the show, and we'll see you out on the track.